Look up. If there's a sky above you right now, it is almost certainly blue. Your jeans are blue. The little charging light on your phone glows blue. You are surrounded by a color that, for almost the entire stretch of human history, no language on Earth had a word for. And the moment that word finally arrived, it may have quietly changed what people were able to see. Hold on to that idea. It sounds impossible. Because blue is the sky. Blue is the ocean. Blue is the first crayon a child grabs from the box. How could the most obvious color in your whole world be the last one human beings ever noticed? To understand that, start where you already are. Today. You live drowning in blue. Blue road signs, blue logos, blue glowing screens in every room, blue denim on half the strangers you walked past this morning. It feels permanent, like it was stitched into the world from the beginning. It wasn't. Blue is a newcomer, and to see why, you only have to step back a little way and ask a strange question. Where does blue actually come from? Look for it in nature, and you will be shocked how little you find. There are no blue mammals? None. There is almost no blue food that grew that way on purpose. Even the things that look bluest are cheating you. A blue jay's feather contains no blue pigment at all. The color is a trick of microscopic structure, tiny shapes that scatter blue light back into your eye. Crush that feather to powder, and the blue vanishes. Your own blue eyes do the very same thing. There is no blue paint inside them, only light bouncing. So for almost all of human history, real, holdable blue lived in just two places, the sky and the deep sea. And you cannot pick up either one. Now keep that thought close, because it is the first clue. When humans finally did learn to make solid blue, it nearly bankrupted them. The richest blue in the world came from a single stone, lapis lazuli, dug out of a few mountains in what is now Afghanistan, hauled thousands of miles and ground into a powder called ultramarine. Gram for gram, it cost more than gold. Painters hoarded it, saving it only for the most sacred thing in the picture. That is how rare blue once was. Every other color grew on a plant or sat in the dirt at your feet. Blue had to be mined out of a mountain on the far side of the known world. So what happens to a color when for thousands of years, almost no one alive can make it, hold it, or trade it? It turns out something happens to the word for it. Or rather, the word simply never comes. Step back now to the year 1858. A British scholar named William Gladstone, a man who would one day run an empire as prime minister, was buried in the poetry of Homer. He read the Iliad and the Odyssey line by line, and he began to count the colors. Something was deeply wrong. Homer called the sea wine dark. He called honey green. He described sheep as violet. And across thousands upon thousands of lines, the sky was never once called blue. Gladstone tallied it all up. Black appeared around 170 times, white about 100, red fewer than 15. Blue appeared exactly 0 times. He decided the ancient Greeks must have been partly colorblind. He was wrong about the eyes, but he had stumbled onto the edge of something far larger than Homer. Because it was not only the Greeks. A few years later, a German thinker named Lazarus Geiger took Gladstone's strange little finding and pulled the thread until it unraveled history itself. Geiger was a philologist, someone who digs into the buried roots of words. He went hunting for blue in the oldest writing human beings ever produced. He read the ancient Hindu Vedas, all of them. He read Icelandic sagas, the original Hebrew of the Bible, ancient Chinese, the Quran. In every one of them, the sky is described again and again. In not a single one is it ever called blue. And then Geiger noticed the thing that turned a curiosity into a law. The colors had not gone missing at random. They had gone missing in the same order, in culture after culture, separated by oceans and by centuries. Every language seemed to wake up to color in nearly the same sequence. First came black and white, darkness and light. Every language that has ever existed carries words for those. Then, without fail, the very next color to be named was red, the color of blood, of fire, of a wound, of ripe fruit, the color a living body most needs to notice. After red came yellow and green, and then last of all, dead last, in tongue after unrelated tongue across the whole planet, came blue. Think about how strange that is. The color
color filling half of everything you can see, the sky above you and the water below you, was the final one the human mind reached out and gripped and aimed for. Why on earth would blue come last? This stayed a hunch until 1969. Two researchers at Berkeley, Brent and Paul K., gathered color data from 20 different languages and laid it out in a book called Basic Color Terms. The pattern Geiger had only glimpsed was real, and it was close to universal. Languages do not pick up color words in a random scatter. They climb them like a fixed staircase, and they almost always climb in the same direction. Black and white, then red, then green and yellow, then blue. The order barely shifts whether a language grows in a jungle, a desert, or on a frozen coast. And here is the reframe that turns this whole story inside out. A color does not earn a name because it is beautiful. It earns a name when people can actually use it. Red came first because red is survival itself. Blood and fire and danger, the ripe and the rotten. You cannot afford to overlook red. But blue was the sky you could never touch and the water you could never hold. There was almost nothing blue you could grow, wear, trade, or make. And a color you can never put your hands on is a color you almost never need to mention. A color no one mentions is a color your mind and your children's minds slowly learn to slide right past. Blue was not missing because no one could see it. It was missing because for nearly all of human history, no one had any reason to point at it. But one people broke the pattern early. Just one. The ancient Egyptians. They became the first civilization on Earth to manufacture blue, grinding sand and copper and lime together and firing it into a brilliant powder now called Egyptian blue. For the first time, a human being could make the untouchable color and hold it in an open palm. And the instant they could make it, they did something no culture before them had bothered to do. They gave blue a name. They splashed it across tombs and temple ceilings and the painted skin of their gods. Make the color, and the word appears almost overnight. There is the entire pattern of history, shrunk down into a single civilization. So the story seems to settle neatly into place. Blue came last because blue was useless, right up until someone finally made it useful. But that tidy answer hides the most unsettling question of all, the one this whole story has been quietly circling from the start. If your ancestors had no word for blue, could they even see it? This is where it stops being a tale about dusty old books and becomes a fact about your own eyes. In the early 2000s, a researcher named Jules Davidoff and his colleagues traveled to northern Namibia to study the Himba people, whose language has no single word that means blue. What it has instead is a rich set of words for shades of green, shades that would look completely identical to you. So Davidoff ran a simple test. He showed them a ring of squares, 11 of them a flat green, and one of them an obvious, glaring blue. To your eyes, that blue square leaps straight out. You would find it before you finished reading this sentence. The Himba volunteers looked at the very same ring, and many of them could not find the blue square at all. Some hunted for a long time. Some pointed confidently at the wrong one. Read that one more time. A blue so bright it almost shouts, was nearly invisible to another living human being. Then Davidoff flipped the test over. He showed them a ring of green squares, in which exactly one was a slightly different shade, a difference so faint that almost no one reading this could spot it if their life depended on it. The Himba found the odd square almost at once. They carried separate words for those greens. You don't, so your eye glides helplessly over a difference that theirs catches in a single glance. Their eyes were not built any differently from yours. The light landing on them was identical. The only thing that had changed between you and them was the words each of you was carrying. Scientists call this categorical perception, which is a clumsy name for an eerie little truth. The words you own for things sharpen the differences you notice and smear together the ones you don't. A name does not simply label what is already sitting in front of you. It reaches back and tunes the eye itself. The linguist Guy Deicher decided to test this on his own daughter. He raised her carefully, never telling her that the sky was blue. And then one ordinary day he pointed up and asked her what color it was. She hesitated. The most obvious color in the world, and the child had to go searching for it. Her first answer was white. Only later, once the word had finally settled into her, did blue snap into place as the instant automatic answer, exactly the way it already is for you. So this is the thing worth sitting with. Blue was the last color the human race learned to see, not because anyone's eyes were broken, but because seeing, it turns out, waits on having a word. So ask yourself honestly, if no one had ever once handed you the word blue, would you still see the sky the way you see it right now? Or does the name come first, and the seeing quietly follow behind it? Scholars have argued over that exact question for 150 years, and you are holding everything you need to take a side. Here is what is certain. Your eyes are ancient. They are very nearly the same eyes as the Greek poet who stared out at a wine-dark sea, and felt no word for blue rise up to meet it. Nothing in your biology has improved. What changed is that you were born standing at the far end of a 3,000-year line of human beings, who slowly, almost accidentally, built a single word, and then handed it to you before you could even speak. You did not discover blue. You inherited it. You are one of the very first people in the entire human story who gets to glance up and have the name arrive before the thought. So the next time you step outside, and the sky is simply there, simply blue, before you have even decided to look at it, stop for 1 second. That effortless little word in your head is not nature. It is a gift, passed from hand to hand down 100 generations, from people who looked up at the very same sky you are standing under now, reached for that color, and came back with nothing. You can reach for it and catch it in an instant. And the next time blue arrives without the slightest effort, you will know exactly how long the human race had to wait before anyone could see it at all.